Hi, Dr. Jeffrey Mark here. Today, we're going to specifically talk about toxic exposures. So, this is a graph showing the significance of toxins. One specific toxin, glyphosate, which you can see here has been correlated with Parkinson's disease, specifically deaths from Parkinson's disease. We see the introduction of glyphosate that was applied to the crops in 1990, and we can see all of a sudden this death curve takes off, and we can see that there's a scary correlation of how much exposure to glyphosate and the use of glyphosate and the effect of Parkinson's disease and death on Parkinson's. This is looking at glyphosate and deaths due to intestinal infections. We know that glyphosate was originally developed as an antibiotic, but actually had a repurposed use as a pesticide because this also seemed to kill all types of pests, bacteria, and otherwise, and thought to be very useful for crops and also useful for the final stage of collecting wheat in that if you put an overwhelming amount of glyphosate, it actually dries out the grain itself so that you don't even have to wait for the natural dehydration to occur. So here's another herbicide, atrazine, and it's been shown to cause mitochondrial dysfunction and insulin resistance, so that this can lead to energy production problems and weight gain. This is the map of the United States and where the concentration of atrazine is used in agricultural production, and you can see that there's a lot of this use mostly in the Midwest, where we do see a lot of issues with obesity and other types of health problems. So what are toxins? Well, toxins are any substance that's harmful to the body, and your body can only handle so much toxins, and it's called a toxic burden. Then it starts to store any overflow of toxins into fat, so that these toxins are fat soluble and they're stored in fat. So your body at times will make more fat just to store toxins. So it's almost the situation now of excess oil. If it's not being used, then you have to develop tankers and you have to develop facilities to store the oil. So sources of toxins, we've shown a little bit of the pesticides, glyphosate and atrazine, but there's also pollutants in the air, solvents, heavy metals, radiation, things that we inhale, the exhaust from cars and from the factories around us, all give us access and exposure to toxins. So, as I mentioned, we have storage capacity, and certain types of toxins such as dioxins and PCBs are known to be very potent to our bodies and can cause cancer. And we know that once our capacity to detoxify or get rid of these toxins is exceeded, then they start to damage our DNA and we're at risk for cancer. So you might ask, what are the risks and am I at risk? Well, these are the exposures that we all get every day, including carbonless copy paper, plastics which have PCBs, xylene from plastics, carpeting, styrene that we have in our foam cups and from the computers. So all these things cause exposure or give us exposure to toxins. So we inhale many toxins as well every day, especially trichloroethylene in our blood, especially when you get that fresh, cleaned, dry clean suit. Immediately we can see effects of just the exposure of those dry cleaning chemicals. So to handle these toxins, your liver is tasked with this important ability, and your liver is the primary source and the primary driver for which we try to get rid of your toxin. The average person is exposed to 14 pounds of pesticides, herbicides, food additives, and preservatives. That's important to restore the body's ability to eliminate these toxins. So where do the toxins come from? They can come from cosmetics that we use, skin care, prescription drugs, caffeine, over-the-counter medications, alcohol, which we ingest. There's approximately 126 unique chemical ingredients that the average woman gets exposed to. So we know that this is a very common source as well. And the skin, of course, is the largest organ, so that very easily exposed. Toxic sources in the water, we know that there's bacteria, mercury. There's also phosphorus, nitrogen that are dissolved as waste products from various factories and other plants around us. They leak into the rivers and lakes, and they can cause contamination in our water sources. We also have toxic exposure from refined foods, the food colorings, the sugars that's used, the preservatives that are used, the hormones and the antibiotics that are fed to the animals, and the meats that we eat. So we're constantly exposed to these toxic sources. This is a list from the Environmental Working Group. These are the 12 what we call dirty dozen, the foods that have high levels of pesticides. These include apples, celery, strawberries. Strawberries actually are very significant in the fact that the nice red large strawberries require a lot of pesticides to get that way, so that they're not being chewed up by any of the pests. Blueberries also have this, and as well as lettuce and kale. So toxic sources, there are a lot of cleaning products that we use, the chlorine bleach, petroleum products, nitrobenzene that's found in our furniture and floor polishes, formaldehyde that's used in many household products, as well as hydrochloric acid or sodium acid sulfate that we use to clean our toilet bowls with. So all these are toxic sources. Our indoor exposure to toxic exposures, we've found that within 26 seconds of any chemical exposures from the household, this usually enters right into the bloodstream. And the air pollutants, indoor pollutants, maybe 2 to 5 times more than the outdoor pollutants that we can get exposed to. So internal toxins are also a problem, of course, a stress that we are all undergoing currently with the present situation, byproducts of metabolic reactions that we have in processing the foods and getting our metabolic energy, the yeast, fungal overgrowth from the foods that we eat or fermented foods, some of which may not be as helpful, and the bacterial overgrowth or fungal overgrowth that we can experience. Other stressors in relationships lead to high cortisol, and which can decrease the permeability or the gap junctions in the lining of our intestines, are all roles of where toxins can be increasingly absorbed through the GI tract or just from the hormone imbalances that occur from the stress. These are some of the signs that your detoxification capacity might be reaching the full level, or that you're not able to detoxify the same level that you're getting exposed to the toxins. Mainly the fatigue here and the issues with blood sugar that we see in a lot of people, insomnia, people with asthma, and most recently, of course, frequency of flu, cold, sinus infections, as the immune system is not functioning properly due to a multitude of possible toxins, including heavy metals. So why would you want to detox? The average American has 116 of 148 synthetic compounds in the body, and there's evidence that we're now burdened in terms of our detoxification capacities. As a result, our body needs support, either removal or decreased exposure from the toxins, or our liver needs support in enhancing its ability to detoxify. One of the things that can be done is to enhance its function. So just as a car can be enhanced, the engine capacity and horsepower with higher octane fuel, we can give better fuels for our liver to try to detoxify and do a better job. We ingest about 30 to 50 tons of food in our lifetime, and our GI tract has to handle all this and to be able to sort out nutrient, food, and toxin and other pathogens as well. So our GI tract is the first line of defense and is very important as well in the detoxification scheme of things. because our liver, even though it detoxifies, it doesn't have an exit strategy to get rid of toxins. So it needs the support of the GI tract to eliminate water-soluble toxins, and it also needs the support of the kidneys to urinate other toxins out and the skin to sweat out toxins. So what happens with the detoxification process? Well, what happens is that the toxins are stored in fat, and they're fat soluble, and our body makes more fat to be able to store the toxins. But as we detoxify, we shift these toxins out, and if we're able to convert them into a water soluble condition, then they get excreted in the GI tract in the forms of a stool, or in the form of urine from the kidneys, or sweat from skin. Oftentimes lead to more energy and also less fat, because your body is a very intelligent system, and if it doesn't need all that fat, if it doesn't have much toxins, then it's not going to keep and hold on to the fat, which is the reason why some people have these yo-yo diets, and that they'll lose rapid weight. They may not look very healthy. In fact, they look probably healthier when they have more weight, and that's because the toxins are circulating if they're forced to lose the weight by reducing calories through starvation or a significant calorie burning through vigorous or excessive exercising. So the healthier way is to eliminate the toxins, then your body will not need the fat, and then you won't have much circulating toxins either. So these are the roles of the liver. It breaks down a lot of things that we don't need or have used up, such as steroids. It stores energy for us. It filters our blood, produces the bile that we need for digestion and for other support and for detoxification. So the pathways that the liver accomplishes the detoxification is through phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 changes the fat-soluble toxins into a more toxic substance called an intermediate metabolite through a series of enzymes. And this intermediate metabolite is much more toxic than the original. This intermediate phase also makes it easier to convert to phase 2, which means that another molecule can attach to the phase 1 intermediate induced particle, and this can make it stable, non-toxic, and water-soluble, so that it can be excreted through the urine or the stool. So this is a diagram of the liver detoxification pathways. We can see that the toxins enter into phase 1, and that you need certain nutrients, namely a lot of the B vitamins, vitamin C and E, glutathione, calcium, and then you can have an intermediate metabolism which need to be neutralized by the phase 2 nutrients. So you would need amino acids, specific ones, mainly taurines and amine, cysteine, which can make up N-acetylcysteine, and then to glutathione, and sulfa-based compounds as well. And then you have the elimination through the gallbladder, which produces bile and out the bowels, and through the kidneys, which produce urine, and not listed here is the skin, which produces sweat. So toxins deplete actually nutrients. As you can see, if you're more toxic, you will tend to use up a lot of the nutrients in phase 1 and phase 2 that were listed. So it's important that we start from a point where you're nutritionally sound before trying to do a detoxification or attempt to enhance the function of the liver. So there's 3 broad steps that we do in preparing and doing a successful detoxification. There's nutrition, lifestyle, and detox. So before the detox, we want to make sure that nutritionally your body's prepared, that you have the amino acids available, which means usually a paleo diet or at least a low carbohydrate diet, so you have more protein, because as you can see, the protein and amino acids are necessary for the phase 2 reaction. Then you want to eliminate any food sensitivities, and we've talked about the elimination diet and challenge to find out what foods may be causing your immune system to flare up, and we want to certainly not have that complicate detoxification program. And then we want to do a gut optimization, which includes making sure that your bowel movements are regular. We want to do a GI wellness restore, which is L-glutamine. We have a special formulation for that, and we can give you more information, or at least use aloe vera. Cholereg or magnesium for energy production for the mitochondria and for regularity as well. Then we want you to be having fiber, which can help bind some of the toxins up and also help with the bowel movements, because we want to make sure that you have an exit strategy, meaning when you have release of toxins, you want to be able to get them out of the body, which means if you're constipated that you may have problems and you get more toxic if your toxins are now released and circulating. So it's important that your GI tract is optimized and that you have plenty of fiber to get things out of your system. Of course, your kidneys can help with urine, and your skin will help with sweat as well. Lifestyle changes, we want to make sure that we can manage your stress, that you find relief from stress and anxiety in a natural way. We also want to make sure you get quality sleep, as you need a rest and repair. Otherwise, you won't have any healing, you won't have that spike in growth hormone, and your immune system will not be optimized as well. This is discussed elsewhere in other videos. We also want to have a stimulating exercise. Make sure your heart rate is going, that you have some sweating, and that it's a routine that you enjoy, that gives you energy, and that will fit in your schedule. And there's different types of cardiovascular exercise that meets these criteria. So finally, once you get the other two in place, we can talk about the detox or GI reset. The broad goals are to remove the toxins, to release the toxins that are built up in the fat cells and to get into a water-soluble state, and to restore the natural healing. And there's a 14-day reset program that makes this much more convenient and easy to do. The program is designed to restore the healthy detoxification and elimination functions, provides all the necessary micronutrients and phytonutrients and protein as well that you need for that phase 1 and phase 2 support, and will help you alleviate other problems as well. So the important things to know about the reset program, some caveats, is that you should not try to do a detoxification program without at least medical evaluation and supervision. If you have kidney disease or liver cirrhosis or end-stage liver disease, if you have significant compromise of the organs that are involved in detoxification, namely the liver and the kidneys, you really should be evaluated first to make sure that it's safe to do. You can probably still detoxify, but it would have to be modified in a slower amount, and we have to make sure that your body can handle a large amount of proteins, and that may need to be modified in terms of the supplements. You should also not start if you have problems with constipation. And again, there could be multiple reasons for constipation. Most commonly, it's decreased water, decreased magnesium, as we tend not to eat as much vegetables, seeds, and nuts. Those are the usual causes. Of course, there are other causes for constipation, including metabolic causes such as your thyroid. If you've never been screened properly, if you're over 45, colonoscopy to make sure there's not a mechanical problem or issue is also recommended. You should also note that the other parts, nutrition and lifestyle changes, should also be done or at least attempted at the start, because this is not meant to just be a program by itself without support from the nutrition and the lifestyle changes that we discussed above as well. So this is the overview of the 14-day reset program. So you want to have the nutrition and the lifestyle that's optimized, and you want your bowel movements regular. You want to start the mitochondrial support tablets, and it's a packet of 3 tablets twice a day, and it's in this kit that's very easy to do in terms of the instructions. There's a video series on how to do all these as well. You want to drink 1 nutrient packet, so there's packets that you would mix either in water or other flavored drink that you like, and this serves as a meal replacement for 2 of the meals of the day. We do want you to eat one healthy meal. Usually you can eat lunch and you can skip breakfast or dinner, or you can juggle it the way that your schedule works. We want you to drink water, drink at least 6 glasses per day, preferably 64 ounces of water, either spring or filtered water, and to avoid alcohol. After the 14 days of the actual reset program, many people either do another 14 days because it's better to have a month of detoxification, but at least the 14 days gets you started. Detoxification is an ongoing process. Obviously, every day you're exposed to toxins and you continually need to optimize your daily detoxification. So, after you graduate the program in 14 days, you can actually progress to another diet, healthy diet such as Mediterranean or a cardiovascular diet, and we have videos on those as well. You can also do continued good biofuel for your liver or optimized high octane fuel, such as in the form of Biotransform, which is very similar to the packets in the 14-day kit, and you do 2 scoops daily. It's in a big tub, and you can do this for another 2 to 10 weeks. Ideally, vigorous detoxification or a more focused detoxification over 3 months is much more beneficial than a 2-week or 1-month period of time. However, once you pass that initial intensity of the 14 days or 28 days or a month, you can kind of back down a little bit, but a lot of people feel the energy and a little bit of the weight loss and they're encouraged to continue to do more. So in that case, you can do the Biotransform. You can continue to drink the water and magnesium to make sure that the bowel regularity is maintained, although a lot of times this comes about as the detoxification occurs. Fiber 365, 35 grams of soluble fiber is also valuable to continue to act as a binder and also for healthy microbiome or good bacteria in the intestines, and to continue with the lifestyle changes. There are also other tablets that I didn't mention that you can do instead of the Biotransform. There's a detox support as well if people prefer to have a pill form of getting some of those nutrients. That's also available. If you'd like to take advantage of the time you have sheltered at home to do the GI Reset program, please call our office to schedule a telephone or telemedicine video chat consultation. For more information on food intolerances, mitochondria, exercise to benefit respiratory and immune functions, sleep, supplements, foods, and stress reduction to help boost the immune system, please see the blogs on www.allfunctionalhealth.com/blog. If you have comments, questions, or want to learn how functional medicine can help with improving your brain and immune function, call our office or email info@jeffreymarkmd.com. Stay healthy and take care. I'd like to tell you that we now offer online functional medicine assessment, HIPAA-compliant video or phone telehealth visits, and in-home functional lab kits that you can mail directly back to the laboratories. We can work together to address your health challenges in the comfort and safety of your own home.